Hey guys, welcome back to the wood shop. You know, these days, one of the most popular things you'll see out there is building projects out of cedar fence pickets. Today, we're going to show you a money-making project that only takes one. Stick around. So the good thing about this project here, not only does it make money, you can make these as small or as large as you want. You can stack them even. And so this is going to be a great project. And it may look simple, but you'll never believe how much people love these and love having them in their kitchen. So this is a kitchen project. So let's jump to it. Before we get too deep into this build, guys, let's talk about this week's sponsor, and that is Banggood Tools. And Banggood has sponsored this channel for quite a long time, and you've seen them many times. They send pretty awesome tools in here for me to check out. We've got a few we're going to show you today, and then we'll get right back into that build. First up, we're just going to buzz through these real quick. This is a dovetail square, and basically what that does, that actually allows that particular 1-8 setting to be used very easily. You just lay it on top of your board, align it with your marks, then you flip that over. And before you know it, you got a nice set of dovetail layouts ready to be cut. Up next, we've got this pretty nifty little router guide. Basically, this is intended to be a sort of a mortise jig. Mount your router in here. It's got this edge guide here. You actually just put that right up against your board, run it along. And we've seen different iterations of this. I'm going to show you a little trick I use with this. I think I like it even more. So if you're like me, you're using wooden dowels all the time, covering up screws, that sort of thing. And one of the worst things to run into, you're putting those dowels in here. In there good and solid. First thing you're going to reach for is your flush trim saw. Cuts through it quite quickly, but a lot of times you're actually scarring up your wood, so that kind of causes you more work. Let's show you another option with this router jig. So what I like to do is get this just really close, and of course not scarring up your wood. To where it's right above it. You see that's sticking out here. And because this thing is good and flat on the bottom, this gives us a nice surface. We'll turn this on. And as you can see, it makes it good and smooth. No defects on the wood here. Of course, that one was already there. That's side the point, not from the router. But that makes a good clean cut. Great use for that little tool. And up next is something I've wanted quite a while. Is a good box joint jig, and they've sent me just that. Now this one is a little bit on the smaller side. As you can see down here, it's already fitted with a 1/2 inch spacer, but located neatly behind, we've got 1/4 inch and 3/8. So the only thing you would have to adjust there, putting this piece in, and then adjusting your depth and your router bit. So let's make a few cuts with that. Now, as with anything, you're going to need to make adjustments with that just in case you don't get it exactly right. But a good tight-fitting box joint, in my opinion, is one of the better looking joints out there. I just really like the way the two woods meet in the corners like this. And it's very strong. Once you get glue in all those areas here, that joint is not coming apart. And as I mentioned many times, you'll have to make adjustments to that because, you know, we're just human. But without any adjustments, I did adjust the first time. I didn't go back and do repeats. This is just how it came out. Now there are a few little gaps that needs adjusted, but for the most part, put a finish on there. And that is a perfectly nice looking box joint, great for any project. As always, a big thanks to the guys over at Banggood. It's always a blast just checking out all the tools they send over here. If you're interested in any of these or their other tools, I'll leave a link in the description. Now let's get back to the project. So for the first step in this project, you kind of have to determine your width of this particular project. Mine, in this instance, I'm going to mark it at 12 inches, and we're going to make 2 of those. For the next step, we're technically going to depend on how deep you want this, whether you make 2 or 3. We're going to make this one a kind of a large one, and I've already got a piece here that's kind of left over from another project. And so we're going to mark that one at 18. So mine's going to take a little more than 1 board, but as I mentioned, depending on the size, you can definitely get this out of just 1 board. Now on our 2 pieces here, we cut at 12 inches. We're going to make just an angled cut on the front at the top, and that's just going to depend on the width you like. And these are around 5.5 inches. We don't want to go too crazy. So I'll come down 3 inches from the top. And you can do this different ways. I'm going to use just an old angled square here. Put it on the mark. And basically we're just going to make a 45-degree cut. So now's when we're going to start kind of piecing everything together. And as I mentioned in several videos, this is a very simple project. Now you see me using table saws, nail guns, that sort of thing. You don't have to have those. I do, so it's a little quicker, but you can easily do this with just hand tools. We're going to start, as you can see this thing kind of taking shape here. We're going to start with a little bit of glue. We're just going to flush that up. And we'll do the next one. And you can do this out of a lot of different woods, but these things are around $3 or $4 a piece. And so even if you had to buy 2 to make larger ones, you still only got like $6 or $7 in these, and you can sell these easily. Craft fairs on Facebook, you'd be amazed how much these sell. Set up our next piece. Now simply the other 2 we've cut at basically 18 inches. We're just going to lay them side by side on the bottom here. Maybe easier to stand it up so we can get our nail gun to it a little easier. And if you've done it right, it'll come right together. And if you didn't, well, that's called experience. And believe me, I've had those experiences. Let's get one side in here. Stand that up a little sturdier. On our next one, we're going to do basically the same thing. I am going to run a bead of glue down the center. And I don't imagine this is going to be a very heavy duty thing, but for what we're using it for, it's going to be perfect. So my project, as I mentioned to you, I'm making it a little bit larger, so we are going to get just a little bit out of this second piece here. But I think it's going to be worth it. Now, instead of doing a bunch of measurements and all that kind of thing, purposely, we've left a little gap right here. As you can see, it's not quite to the front. So what we're going to do is we're going to butt this up next to this, all the way to the back. And we're going to make a mark right there where the edge of the bottom ends. And we'll cut that end straight off. So for the next piece that's going to go in the middle, as you can see, we're kind of making a little bit of a divider here. What we're going to do is just very simply put it up against the edge here. And we can rip that off on the table saw and cut that 45. So as you can see, our little divider here is coming together. And what I've done on the front edge here, instead of just squaring this off just so that it'll meet up with our center piece, we've cut this at a 45. Looks good and smooth here. And then we'll set our center piece here. But let's go ahead and glue this one in. And if it's not perfectly flush, it's not really going to matter. That just brings out the character. People know it's handmade and it still looks good. And here simply we just kind of want to center it, or whatever you choose. But as I mentioned, this is going to be great for the kitchen, and what these are kind of designed for. Keep these right on the counter. You can keep your fruits and vegetables right in here. Looks great too. And as a bonus, if you want to sell them as sets, you can make another one just like this and either drop some supports in here or some dowels and have them that stacks, and that'll look great too. Okay, if you remember from our original cuts, these longer pieces are 18 inches, so that means center is 9. And we're going to take just a really light mark right there. That'll be the center of our center divider, and the same here. It's a little tough sometimes holding this tape measure. And this one you don't necessarily have to put glue because that is quite tight, but this particular one is going to go in our home, and we don't want this thing really moving around. We're not using a ton either way. It does tend to smear it a little bit as you're pushing it in there. Keep you a good paper towel on hand. And that's about where I want it up here. So there we have it, folks. What do you think about this? I've seen many of these where actually people label these and write out onions or potatoes or fruits or whatever it might be. And who knows, you might use this for something different. You might use it in your wood shop. Anything you can think of, but I can promise you, you take these to the craft show, put them online, people are going to buy these and they love them. Either way, that's going to bring us to the end of this video. As I mentioned at the beginning, big thanks to the guys over at Banggood. If you're interested in any of those tools, the links are in the description. But either way, comment down below. Tell me what you think about this. It looks great. People love these. And the good thing about being a cedar wood, when you cut it, it smells great. These look great, guys. And the thing is this is not something you're seeing every day. You can definitely tell these are handmade, and they look great. People love them. get up there in your shop and make some of these. But like I said, that's the end of the video. Like, share, and subscribe if you would, and we'll see you on the next one.